Well, George, how are you today?
Hello, brother Meatball John. How are you? You
I'm
can
good.
you can
Good.
see I'm spending time on my boat, and I
Yeah.
see you're enjoying the beach.
How's the weather in the ocean there?
It was bright, sunshiny all day, and it was in the low to mid 70s. I sat outside for a while.
Nice. I tell you what, today I went out to get my morning coffee, a cup of coffee, and I was like, "Hey, fall is here." There's a little nip in the air.
Really? What is it, below 89 or something?
It was. It was about, I don't know, it's probably about 75, 76 degrees
Oh,
this morning.
isn't that funny? To me, that's beautiful. To you, that's a chill in the air.
Well, it went up to 84.
Son of a gun, you.
It was okay. It was the day to okay, but 7:30 this morning, it was a little nippy.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that we got the weather report out of the way, the Ravens Bills game.
Okay.
The Bills won an exciting game.
Yes, they did.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I thought the Bills, both on offense and defense, struggled in the first half.
See,
Um, the Bills, I thought, struggled mostly because of the offensive line. Although some of their starters were back, they looked like they hadn't really gelled yet. Like they didn't practice all summer. They did, of course, but it's just like they were kind of like running in quicksand. The plays weren't sharp. It wasn't crisp. Things developed slowly, and it was difficult for them to move the ball. And on the defensive side, especially the defensive line, I Baltimore was able to move the ball. They were able to run the ball some, throw the ball some. Baltimore didn't score a lot of points, of course, but the Bills weren't really scoring at that time either. And I thought maybe the Bills might be in trouble.
yeah.
But Baltimore continued to move the ball, but they never could score again. And they just let the Bills hang around and hang around and hang around. And when the second half came out, all of a sudden, Josh and the offense started to gel, started to make some connections. They started to score points. The Bills' defense started to find their range on Lamar Jackson, I'm sorry, and they were able to bring him down a few times. They shut them down. Baltimore did a lot of 3 and outs, and it ended up at 20-20, and the Bills have the ball late in the fourth quarter. And John, it was the first time maybe in 4 years that I saw the Buffalo Bills coaching staff finally figure out how to manage the time on the clock, how not to make stupid decisions, but actually make good decisions, to take control of the game and their players like Josh Allen and say, here's what you're going to do. And they were not going to allow another team to have a 13 seconds. And they decided to put Baltimore away by not scoring and waiting till time was about to run out and kick a winning field goal. And it was one of the smartest and most best managed games or endings to a game that I've seen Buffalo do in a long time.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
We got a couple more injuries.
Oh my God, yes, we did.
Crowder broke his ankle. I hate to see that for the young man, but then again, he wasn't contributing anyway. And who else got injured there? There was another guy that got injured.
No, McKenzie's hurt.
McKenzie, he's in concussion protocol.
Yeah.
So that's going to make him a little shorthanded on the receiving staff coming up in the next game when we talk about that.
So, and whatever's bothering Davis is still bothering Davis.
Mm-hmm. Whatever is bothering Knox, I think is still bothering Knox.
Stephon Diggs is a tremendous comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you concerned? Are you feeling any frustration about the running backs, who's getting used, what they're doing?
Yeah, I'm frustrated that they allowed Blackshear to be snitched off their practice squad. And we still have Duke Johnson sitting down there on practice squad. And we got James Cook up in the starting lineup. And quite frankly, the kid really hasn't done anything, John. And Moss is not doing anything. Now, I realize Cook is a rookie and, maybe this is a little over his head at this point. So it's kind of too early to judge a rookie running back after just 4 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if there's problems on the offensive line. So that's an issue. But maybe it's time to get a veteran back up there, get Duke Johnson up there that you can count on. It's going to make some smart plays or smart decisions if he gets a dump off pass. I heard a really interesting thing today. Somebody else that does these type of videos. We're talking about how many batted balls Josh Allen's had. And that his percentage of batted down balls from the line of scrimmage is almost doubled in percentage. So it went from 2 point something to 3 or 4 point something. So that's like doubling how many batted balls he's had. And when they looked into the numbers, his average time of getting rid of the ball is like 2.2 seconds compared to like his average of like 2.9 seconds. So he's getting rid of the ball much quicker. And the average pass, his average is like 9.4 yards per pass. Yeah, this year Josh Allen's passing yards per completion is like only 7.9 yards or 7.4 yards a throw. So he's down 2 yards and he's throwing it in almost a half a second faster. And so his trajectory on those throws are lower and they're getting batted down. So is it because the offensive coordinator is calling quicker pass plays? Is it because he's using more of the running backs in the pass game that the yards of per pass completion is less? Or is it just because the offensive line is not performing up to par? I kind of think it's because the offensive line is not gelling the way it should. So that's where I'm concerned, is more on the offensive line.
Okay. Well, that I think we were expecting him to utilize his running backs in the receiving game a little more.
Yes.
They have.
But it hasn't bought him any yards after the catch.
And it reduced his completion yards.
Yes.
So,
and he's using Diggs for 3 and 4 yard catches.
Yeah. So the consequence of that is, like, it was something we wanted or thought he would do, perhaps even wanted him to do. I think you had said several times, or were interested in maybe utilizing passes to the backs of a running plays by the.
Yeah, I felt if they were throwing to the backs, it's going to pull the linebackers up closer, and it'll be easier for then the wide receivers to get long. But they just haven't been successful about that. I'll tell you what really concerned me about the first half of the game. We talked about the Baltimore-Miami game the week before, and Tua was finally able to go long, and his wide receivers were getting by the safeties, and they were running free down the field. And we thought that our receivers could do the same thing, but it wasn't like Baltimore was keeping our wide receivers contained. They just weren't going down the field until the second half, when they finally said, okay, all of a sudden they're throwing long and they're scoring in 3 or 4 plays. So that was available to Buffalo the whole game. They just didn't figure out to do it until the second half. But even with that, I think that's coaching mistakes. But even with that, I still think the coaches did a much better job of time of possession. Of time management at the end of the game, and figured out how to win a close game and not make stupid mistakes like they've made in the past. So I give them credit for that.
Well, it sounds like you're giving them a backhanded compliment. They did figure out, and they successfully won a game, but they managed the game in a way that it kept their own, they reduced their own ability to score, which is why it was a close game.
That's exactly right. You got it. It was. I don't think they had the right. I'm kind of concerned about the offensive play calling. Yeah, I think I'm concerned about the offensive play calling. But finally, it was a close game, and maybe it was McDermott that took over and said, "We're just not going to lose this one. We're going to play this smart. Let's slow down here. And let's figure this out. We got 2 minutes to go. We don't want to give them the ball back. Let's figure out how to win this game instead of figuring out how to try and not lose this game."
Well, I tell you what, if the coaching staff comes away from the game, which I think they probably did, feeling like they did this great job because they successfully coached their team into situational football. And they won a game that really they kind of pulled the game out of Baltimore's hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, except that they're also the coaching staff that maybe didn't take advantage of what was available to them for 30 minutes.
Yeah, and you're not going to get through 3 or 4 games in a playoff run by doing that. It's going to be pretty difficult to do unless you got home field advantage and you got some luck on your side. But they're going to have to figure out how to open up their offense a little bit more. And I know they may actually be one of the higher scoring teams in the league, but I don't think it's saying a lot because I don't think there's a lot of high scoring teams in the league right now. And I really believe that the Bills are going to have to get their act together on the offensive side of the ball. I think they do on the defensive side. I think they're playing through their injuries and they're getting better. But on the offensive side of the ball, I know we've got injuries, but I also think that we have some other concerns as well.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to throw out there for recapping this game? I mean, it was a win. Every reason to be excited about what's ahead.
Yeah.
And they're 3-1, which is not bad.
They're 3-1 instead of being 2-2 and tied with the Jets.
2-2 would be a shocker. That I think you're right. That there'd be some rumblings with 2-2.
Yeah. How do you think you would feel if they woke up on Monday morning and said, "Well, we're tied with the Jets for 3rd place"? That would be a problem. And that would be a real problem. Yeah. So I do think that we've had a little luck on our side, and I do think we have a lot of good players, and we've had enough depth to weather this storm on injuries. They're going to have to get better. I mean, I don't mean just improve their play. I mean, they're going to have to get better healthy. Now, my phone is ringing. I bet it's Bob. Bob, if that's you.
3, 2, 1. All right. So overall, we're content, I guess you would say, with the 3-1 record. We still have high hopes for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
We got a game against Pittsburgh Steelers coming up. We'll do a pre-game video, but there's reason to have after 4 games of the toughest part of their schedule, they're 3-1.
Absolutely. And I know we're going to do our recap or we're going to do our prediction on the next game soon. But looking at their total year, I'm really not concerned until we go to Kansas City. And if we don't have a healthy team going into Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes is the kind of guy that could take advantage of that. And then I don't see another challenge for the Bills until we're almost at the end of the season and they got to play Cincinnati on the road.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you lose both of those games, then the Bills are
3-3,
14-3 at the end of the year. But we got to get healthy, and it would be nice to be healthy for the Kansas City game. But if we're not, John, I'd rather see these guys rest going into the easier part of the schedule and be ready be in good shape for the second half run of the season going into the playoffs.
All right. A couple of notes. After this week's game, after that game, Tavon Austin and the Bills have parted ways.
They did, huh?
Tavon Austin and the Bills have parted ways. The speculation was that Tavon Austin just didn't feel like he was getting much of an opportunity.
Why wouldn't they bring him up this week with all the injuries on wide receiver?
I would have to think that Tavon Austin has the same question.
Mm-hmm.
Don Beasley has retired.
Cole Beasley?
Oh, did I say that? Yeah.
Didn't he sign with Tampa Bay?
Well, maybe I got the wrong Beasley. Hold on. Let's check.
I thought he was going to sign with Tampa Bay.
He did.
That not happen?
Yeah, he retired 2 weeks after signing with the Buccaneers. So he played in Sunday's game. Sunday night game, the Buccaneer game, but he is now retired.
Isn't that something strange?
No.
Can he come back to the Bills? We could use him right now.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills, wouldn't answer his call. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they just were not interested in this guy. I understand that when after the end of the last year, they even gave an opportunity to try to arrange a trade.
Mm-hmm.
Information to teams trying to trade, and it seemed like teams just weren't interested in paying him that contract.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally thought someone would pick him up just at a small. Once that was done and he got cut, and the realization that he wasn't going to be able to command that kind of salary. Once that realization hit him, I thought he would be willing to negotiate for a smaller amount, for a less amount. But I don't know if he ever did. And finally, he signed with the Buccaneers. Now I don't know what his contract was like with them.
Yeah.
But he may have decided that it's simply what he can command for salary. It's not worth playing for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and he might have, who knows? He might have. I know he had did he come out with a single? He's a musician or he's a singer or something. So maybe he's got another plan in mind. He's going to move on to the next phase of his life.
If he unretires, I could see him unretiring to the Giants before unretiring to the Bills. But
it all, it might depend on just what team is willing to pay him.
Yeah, how you like the Giants? They're 3-1.
Yeah. Well, I think they got themselves a little problem if Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor are both hurt. I think they got a Monday night or a Sunday night game coming up.
Well, maybe they could get Mitch Trubisky from Pittsburgh.
Maybe they can.
Yeah.
He apparently is available.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the news and notes that we have. It was a good game. Look, the Bills are, like we said, the Bills are 3-1. If we were told that we could take 3-1 or 2-2, we would have taken 3-1.
3-1, right? No matter how we got it, again, it was a bad weather game, but you can't use that for excuse. The other team is playing in the same weather, and just like the week before, Miami was playing in the same heat. Half the guys on the Bills team are from Florida, so don't tell me they don't know how to experience the heat.
You know what else? They got to play Miami again, and they better figure out how to beat them. They better figure out how they're going to defend those two receivers and how they're going to score points against that defense.
Unless they get a quarterback that can throw, I don't think. Who's their backup quarterback there? What's his
Bridgewater?
Bridgewater. Yeah, the only Bridgewater he's going to have is a bridge on the Keys. Find himself going down to Key West because I don't think he's the right quarterback for that team.
By the time they play again, Bridgewater will have several games under his belt.
You know what Bob told me today? I think he told me that they signed Jake Fromm.
Good for Jake Fromm.
Oh, no. He told me that they wanted to sign him to be the backup, to be the third string and be on the practice squad, but he was asking $10 million for that. So they told him no.
Okay. All right. Well,
maybe they get Nathan Peterman.
You know what? I'd have done it for $9.
I'd have done it for $25 in season tickets. Maybe a couple hot dogs.
I was trying to think of a food that Miami was famous for, like Louisiana's got their whatever.
Yeah.
Come on with
Cuban sandwich. Yeah.
$25 in a Cuban sandwich. I'll go be your backup quarterback.
Cuban sandwich and a dip in a pool. Hey, all I know is the Bills are 3-1. They got there. I'm complaining about them, but I really don't mean it that way. I just think they got to get their act together. And before they start losing, they could go on a losing streak. I mean, so far it kind of reminds me of last year. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think the defense is really keeping them in the games this year. Kind of like it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, not last year. Defense was in the game last year. Yeah, I hear you. All right. So, if you like this video, we appreciate you. Feel free to give us a thumbs up. We will we'll be happy to read any comments you may have. We appreciate you watching. Thank you, everyone.
We'll see you soon. Okay, we'll see you for week 5.
Week 5 preview. All right.
Okay.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.